Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another day of 31 Days of Cut Files. Today is day 8, and we have the tree cut file, which came very small in your package if you purchased the bundle that we sold over at Some Assemblage Required. I'm also using these pine cone clusters from Some Assemblage Required, and I am going to be using a large version of the cut file. So if you are someone who purchased the digital bundle, you can cut your trees at whatever size you want. So the small size here is the size that came in the physical bundle. The large size is cut almost a full 12, I think it's 11.5 by 11. Well, it's not 11.5 wide, but 11.5 inch tall. So this kind of goes with our live that we are doing over in the Facebook group every day, which is called Is Bigger Better. So you can go to the 31 Days of Cut Files Facebook group. The link will be down below for you. And every day there is a different video. Well, I think every day. We're trying to do every day. That's the goal. Where we are using a larger version of it to see if bigger is actually better. And in this case, I am going to be mixing the two. And if, like I said, if you have the digital bundle, you can certainly cut at multiple sizes. So I am inking these up with some Catherine Pooler ink in Martini and in, I believe, Lime Ricky. I believe I'm going to show those in just a moment if I didn't already. And I'm just using a blending brush to do that because the blending brush is a little bit softer and doesn't pick up the little pointed edges of the cut file, whereas the foam blending applicators, they definitely pick up the edges. So all of the leftover green ink that was on my desk, I just sprayed it with a little bit of water and I smushed my cut file into it. I wanted to give it a little bit of a more natural mottled effect. Nothing in nature is perfectly green, and I like that to be reflected in what I'm creating, so I like to have it be a little bit imperfect. And I apologize, I said lime Ricky. It's definitely not lime Ricky, it's eucalyptus that I used. And then I used some macchiato ink for the base of the trees, although you're not going to see a ton of that. I am using some paper from 49 and Market. I believe this is from Everywhere. And I don't know, it's one of the travel collections. And I'm basically documenting the little guy that I take care of. We walk over to this bridge that's by his house periodically, and we like to look at the water. In the winter, the creek is super full and twice as wide as it normally is. And then in the spring and summer, in the summer and fall, it starts to go down. But in the spring, it's rushing pretty good. So these are photos of him just crouched down looking, and I love these booty shots. Which I know sounds weird, but I mean, I have pictures of my kids doing very similar things, just their backside looking and peering over at something that's of interest to them. And so I love documenting that, and that's why I'm documenting this today. I am using these pine cones, like I said, from Some Assemblage Required. I don't end up using the piece that says Adventure, I believe, and then I'm using just a few other pieces from the 49 and Market Nature Study, I believe, is where that green piece came from. I do have this stencil of trees. I want to say it's from Waffle Flower. I could be totally wrong on that. But I will put a link down below if I can find it for you. I mean, if it's still available. I can find it in my stash. I don't know if it's still available. But I am just inking up a couple of trees to make it look like there's some more trees back in the background. And I'm liking how that's looking. You can see here that I've cut apart the trio of large trees so that I can bring one of the trees into the foreground. I'm liking how that's looking, giving it some depth and dimension. And so everything is not super flat on my layout, and that makes me really happy. Again, I am going to do another one of these tree outlines, and this would not be very hard to create yourself. If you cut a triangle and then start snipping in from the sides, it would probably not be very hard to do that, to create a similar type of stencil out of a piece of cardstock. But anyway, or if you have a die that is a tree, die cut it in the middle of the paper and then use that as a stencil if you don't have a stencil. So there's lots of ways around it. Really liking how this is coming together. I did spritz a little bit of ink right over the top of those trees in the background as well, just so they match the trees in the foreground. And then I am taking the masking off of the front of the pine cones. All of the wood veneer over at MK's shop have a masking over it, so when the laser cuts, it doesn't scorch the wood, and you have to peel that off prior to using it. So I'm using a piece of tape. Sometimes I use my tweezers, but in this case there were lots of little tiny bits, and so using the tape is definitely helpful for that. Some duct tape works well, or Gorilla Tape or something like that. And then all of the wood veneer is also adhesive backed, so I don't have to worry about adding any adhesive. I did pull out a few other packs of wood veneer from her shop. Those logs are actually, I believe, acrylic, and then the wood rounds are wood, but I don't end up using those. I end up just using the pine cones, and sometimes less is more. That is my story, and I'm sticking to it. I think sometimes if we go a little bit too far, it's confusing to the eye, and so I like a clean layout for the most part. I mean, clean doesn't mean no mixed media or anything like that, but I like it to be relaxing to your eye as well. And so that's the look that I'm going for. And that's not to say that anybody else is doing it wrong. It's just my preference. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense. I apologize for any sniffing I'm doing. I am sick and trying to get well. Seems like I'm sick a lot. Anyway, I am now just using some more liquid glue to adhere the small cut file down, and that's going to be tucked behind this top right hand photo just to make it look like the tops of trees that are sticking out in the background even more. And then the one tree that I've cut apart from the other two, that will be popped up onto some foam because that pine cone set is going to be popping out from behind it. So I need to give it a little bit of lift, and I also want it to have a little bit of extra dimension, even though it's not a ton of dimension. The wood veneer is only a 1/16 of an inch thick, so it's not like it's a huge amount, and that makes me happy. And then my foam is approximately the same thickness, so it definitely supports it really well over the wood veneer. And the foam that I'm using is just the stuff from Walmart. It's the craft foam for kids, and it is adhesive backed on one side. So I'm going to get those all glued down. I'm just figuring out the placement and where I can put the foam so it doesn't interfere with the wood veneer that I'm tucking behind it. And as you can see here, I did have to remove a little bit just so that that pine cone could tuck in a little bit further. Otherwise the foam piece blocks it and then you can't tuck it in. So figuring out where your foam goes is a pretty essential type of a deal when you're tucking in wood veneer. Now if you're just tucking in something flat, it's not a big deal. You can tuck it in above the wood or below or above the foam or below the foam. It's not going to make any difference really. But when it comes to the wood veneer or acrylic pieces, you definitely have to allow that space for those pieces to be tucked. So I'm liking how that's looking. I am not going to probably do a whole lot more on this layout. I'm going to kind of keep it pretty simple, and I will probably just write on it the date and that we're at the creek by his house. I don't have a big story to tell or anything like that. It's just an adorable photo of him and one of our daily, not really daily activities. This would be more like every couple of weeks we go for a walk out in that area. We tend to go to parks with playgrounds more frequently than this particular creek, just because he is right now in a stage where he wants to climb everything. So I like to give him that opportunity as much as possible in a safe environment. And so we don't make it to the creek as as often. Now, when I had his sister at this age, we were right in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and so we visited this creek like almost every day because playgrounds and everything were shut down. But yeah, it's really not very far from his house. It's just a quick 5-minute walk. And so I know he goes here with his parents, and they bike right over there and all that kind of stuff too. So it's a very nice spot that he visits frequently, and it's very shady, which is really nice. Sorry guys, I'm trying not to cough. So here I'm just peeling the backer off of the wood veneer and getting that placed down. You definitely need to know where you're going to place it when you peel that or the backer off, because that adhesive is really strong and it sticks very well. And then I'm trying to see if this has a backer on it, but it does not. These are the chipboard pieces from Nature Study. And then I will have to add a little foam behind that piece that says today, because it is going across the stems of those pine cones there, and then the little edge of the circular piece will have a little foam under it as well, so it doesn't get popped off of the wood veneer, which has that added dimension. Now I considered adding a little bit of fiber to this and bringing in a little more texture, and then I decided not to. I really just thought it was just a little bit more than I wanted on this layout. I wanted to keep it a little bit more on the simple side, and so I don't end up adding the twine at all. That is it, you guys. I kept this one really kind of simple, making the wood veneer and the cut file the star of the show, aside from those photos, and I hope that you enjoy it. Go and check out what MK is doing on her channel today using the same cut file. And don't forget, the link to the Facebook group is down below. You can choose to play along with the cut files we have, or your own cut files, and go and interact with everyone over there. I'll see you guys again tomorrow with another one. Bye-bye.